Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, starring award-winning real estate coaches and #1 international best-selling authors, Tim and Julie Harris. This is the #1 daily radio show for realtors looking for a no BS, authentic, real-time coaching experience. What's really working in today's market, how to generate more leads, make more money, and have more time for what you love in your life. And now your hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
Welcome back. Another interview for you. And today we have Mr. Dustin Lewis from Atlanta. You guys are going to really love hearing from him. He is an agent with a very interesting background, but I don't want to give any spoilers. So Dustin, without any further delay, welcome to today's interview.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. This is really fun and exciting.
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate you on all your success. I mean, Colette McDonald, when I was asking her who we should have as, guests on our podcast, because we're wanting to do interviews to give recognition to a lot of the folks that are doing so well in this new real estate market, she said your name first, just like that. Boom, Dustin.
Oh, that's awesome.
Dustin.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely.
So share with the listeners a little bit about yourself and where you sell real estate, the whole shebang.
Yeah, absolutely. So my husband and I are a domestic team with eXp Realty, and I've been in the industry going on only on my 4th year. So and my husband joined me shortly thereafter, and we decided to run our business together. And so we work in the Atlanta metro market. And we say beyond, because I work with a lot of folks in the entertainment industry, so the farm really doesn't happen for me. They want homes all over the place in Atlanta. So,
well, that was a spoiler alert. We're already sneaking into what we're going to try to hold out as the surprise.
Well, here's the thing: nobody knows what I do, though, right? So there you go.
Well, okay. Well, so you got into real estate 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So you made past the 2-year real estate roadkill, speed bump. So good job, you. As far as what did you do prior to selling real estate? What's your background?
Oh, my background is in, like I said, in the entertainment industry. So I have been an actor. Fell in love with that when I was around 9 years old. Knew I wanted to do that for my whole life, and did theater for many years, and started working in television and film. It's huge here in Atlanta. People call us the Hollywood of the South. We have lots of production here. Got into that about 10 years ago, and of course, when the pandemic came, real estate's been something I've always been interested in doing, and quite honestly, never had the time to sit down and really discover if it would be the right path for me as an additional source of income, let alone a career. And the rest is history right now. It's like we're loving it and we're rocking it. So
how did you transition? Does that do we get that a lot, right? That a lot of people are, they'll ask us, well, I'm a full-time this, I'm a full-time that. How do I transition to real estate? Or they'll say, like, I'm already, maybe they're thinking about getting licensed, or maybe they're already licensed and they're trying to think about, should I quit my job? And when do all those moving parts. You went through all that only 4 years ago. So can you share with the listeners that process for you?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things is I also teach acting. So I had that, and that can be flexible, right? What do we always say, make sure you have 6 months of income if you're going to really quit your job and do this industry, or a year to support your bills. But luckily at that time, my husband as well had not been in the real estate industry yet. So he had a full-time job. I was still teaching, I was still acting. And I was one of those people, as soon as I made the decision, I let every single person know that I was getting my license. Every single person. And so when I finally got my license, after a few months, I had my first former student was my client. So that was really super important to me, is I was all in right away when I made that decision, and it wasn't a part-time thing for me. I was starting my real estate business at the moment I decided to do real estate.
So you just said something that was really important, that you did not screw around and wait to get started. You right away, even as a new licensee 4 years ago, attacked your center of influence list. And 100%. So there's a lot that's wrapped into that. And I have a feeling your acting training probably helped you push past some of the normal things that keeps agents from actually ever doing that. But weren't you worried, just being direct, right, for the sake of our listeners, weren't you worried that people would think like, oh my gosh, Dustin must not have made it in his previous career, or he's just calling because he wants to do a real estate deal, all that mind junk that agents typically have.
Well, listen, there was, I'll give you a really direct example of that is an acquaintance, not really a close student, but somebody in the TV and film industry that I do know. We were texting at one point and I said, oh, well, I know that your partner is going to be buying a home. You know, I'd love to chat with you. She said, no, she really wants somebody who's actually full-time doing it. You know, I mean, so that mentality all came out within the process of that. But everybody knows, and that knows me and trusts me, especially with what I do within the entertainment industry, knows that I don't half-ass anything, right? I don't. So, I mean, I think that I'm set up for that. And I show that on my social media. I share everything to my personal pages as well. So everybody knows that I'm super active. And that was kind of never a question. But because I came out with confidence, I came out with knowledge, and you know, I made the ask. And so when people would maybe say, oh, but I thought you were an actor, I'd say, yeah, I am an actor, and I'm also a real estate agent, and I run my real estate business as well. And luckily, I have the flexibility to be able to do both and do both well.
So you do still do both, and you said you're teaching folks how to act as well. So that's really good. So my wife was a professional musician. She says semi-professional, but she was a professional musician. I mean, when you're working at something 8 hours a day and going to practices constantly and getting paid for it, I don't know at what point you become professional versus semi-professional, but whatever. And she originally started out having lots of passion and love for music. And after a while, when she started getting paid for it and she started having a, show up at this rehearsal, it didn't take maybe but 2 or 3 years for her to realize it wasn't for her because it was ruining her passion for something. Did the same thing happen with you with acting, where you were relying on something you loved, or never happened? That's interesting.
No, I think of path in any kind of art where you're really struggling to paycheck, like a real estate career sometimes, right? It's very cyclical, just like an artist's life. And, I've quit acting several times. We always do air quotes with it, because there's many shifts and you have to be extremely malleable. And I think if you're not malleable enough to go, hey, I can see opportunity here where I can still be an artist and fulfill that part of my life. But I can also do this, and so there were times where I quit. I did health club sales on a number of occasions, and did those kind of things. And then that was miserable. And I was like, hey, I'd rather get rejected all the time in acting and go dance on a cruise ship or sing on a cruise ship. That's a heck of a lot more interesting and fun.
Yeah. Well, it is funny. Actually, that's the heart of it, isn't it? I mean, when you're an actor and you are having to face constant rejection of some form, and you have to do. So let's talk about that, because you just touched on something that's genius. That is the essence of what prevents agents from becoming spectacular agents, is their fear of rejection. So if you have somebody that where do you go with that? I'm asking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, it's so interesting, especially on the actor side of things, because you have to develop a thick skin, but vulnerability is our superpower, and empathy, right? And listening, right? So the rejection part is kind of a getting used to, and also an acceptance of the fact that it's going to happen. Like, it's not a surprise. There's a great audition technique book, and he equates it to anything in any industry really it goes with is like, it's like a mail carrier coming in every single day to pick up the mail and going, what the heck is all this mail? And just flip it out, and flip at a table about there's so much mail he has to deliver every day. Well, guess what? Part of our jobs is being rejected. I think I've heard you all say before about, like, if you don't get 10 no's a day or something like that, is a quote from y'all, in a day, then you're probably not doing what you should be doing for your daily tasks. And I love that.
Let me frame it. It's basically, if you're not putting yourself in a position to hear the word no at least 5 times a day,
that's it.
10 is better, then you haven't worked on a particular day. And you can't count when your kid says no, or your spouse says no.
Right.
Or
well, that would be, yeah,
all the time.
Way more.
Yeah. So it has to be from a decision-making adult, because you are actually asking them for a lead. By the way, Dustin, who do you know who's thinking about buying or selling real estate that I should be helping in this market? If his answer is no, I don't know anybody right now, I'll keep you in mind. That's technically a no. So go you.
Right.
Yeah, so that's a really great benchmark, and I appreciate you bringing that up. So 5 no's per day, or you haven't worked that day.
I love it. I love it. And you know, and it doesn't have to. And there, like you said, I think what you just said is really powerful too. Is it, the no can be a positive, but I'll keep you in mind is the magic, right? And that's the place where a rejection is actually you're doing your job, because as soon as they turn the corner or they get a phone call from Aunt Kelly, or whatever, and they're like, "Hey, I'm thinking about selling my condo." It's like, "Oh my gosh, I just talked to Dustin," or what have you. You know, I mean, that's you top of mind. I know we say it all the time, be top of mind, but the only way you're going to be top of mind is to have those conversations and give people the opportunity to say no. Right? I love the phrase, "I wouldn't be doing my job if." I use that a lot, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
especially to my sphere of influence. You know, I'm like, hey, I know I just saw you at dinner, like, you know, like 2 months ago or whatever, or at this event, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't check in once in a while. You know, that type of thing. I love that phrase. I got that, you know, from Julie Nelson, who's amazing. So
Yeah, people love that. And the again, with regard to rejection, with
I
regards to,
love that.
do you ever get to the point when you're a professional actor where the rejection doesn't hurt?
No, absolutely not. And it's that thing. It's that thing of accepting it and moving on from it.
Right. So the thing we coach,
Right. I
right?
mean,
There's
if I said I got used to it, especially when it's something bigger, you know, and that's the thing. It's the acceptance of it. It's just like, and then some people like to think flip the script about like nervousness, right? Everybody gets nervous about things. It's the same way with rejection. I just know that I'm going to get rejected. I know that I'm going to get nervous, so I don't let it catch me off guard. I think is the differentiation there. It's like you
so
just know what's going to be happening.
one of the best elixirs to rejection is adopting, and frankly, any sort of emotional lows and highs is by adopting the concept of it's too soon to tell. So listeners, Dustin already knows this, but when he just expressed it. So when you get rejected, say to yourself, it's too soon to tell whether I was rejected, because that person could swing back. But
Love that.
also
Yeah.
to his point, you got to use rejection as a way of learning. So when you lost and it hurts, that's nature's way of telling you to do something so you don't experience the pain again. So if you lose a listing on a listing appointment, ask the seller why they listed with the other agent. Don't just assume it's because normal agent excuses. They told them a higher price, a lower commission, all the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, call them up and find out. And if you call them up and the seller wants to give you some little, polite answer, oh, we just, knew him from church or whatever. Well, okay, I appreciate that. But you also knew me from church. So what was the other reason so I can improve? Help me to do better at my
Right.
job, and ask questions like that. And if that listing doesn't sell, or if that seller gets frustrated with that listing agent, guess who's going to get the listing? But the moral of the story is, say to yourself, it's too soon to tell when you have a bad experience. A lot of bad experiences years from now will turn out to be great experiences, because you'll say, what, today you'll have a bad experience. 5 years from now, you'll have this experience where you go, damn, that's what I was supposed to be learning from that bad experience. So it's too soon to tell.
100%.
And it also works like that on the positive side. So if you have a great experience and you're really hitting it out of the park and you're just, top of the world, you got to tell yourself it's too soon to tell, because the emotional highs and the emotional lows, if you just allow yourself to exist in those places too long, will absolutely wear you out. So you can have a great experience, not saying don't enjoy it. I am saying don't, let it all basically percolate, because if the next experience you have is a bad experience, then that emotional yo-yo absolutely will cause you to, go bonkers, and you'll blame the real estate industry or something else. It's just the too soon to tell approach to life.
Well, and it's part of it, right? It's just part of it. It's about life. I mean, if we just, you just have to go and find out how you can correct those, or at least I love the fact that you said get information. Like, knowledge is power in those cases, for whatever you're doing. And sometimes you won't, and that's fine. That's you just move on, and that's the thing is, if you sit back and you rest in the negative parts of what we do, that's who you're going to become, and it's certainly not going to be attractive to a client.
Yep. I appreciate that. So what we didn't do is we didn't tell them how they can send you referrals. So you're tell them about your market, give them your cell phone number and how they can communicate with you. Do I have to repeat it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm cell phone number and how they can. Yeah, absolutely. My cell is 678-438-4368. I'm very accessible. Shoot me a text.
Say it slower.
What's that?
Say it slower.
Sorry, 678. I'm so excited, Tim.
Yeah.
Best way to reach me is by text, 678-438-4368. You can also email me, Dustin at createrealtypartners.com.
Awesome. I'm in Puerto Rico. He's in Atlanta. And so Zoom is buffering a little bit. It is what it is. It's just a miracle it works at all. I mean,
I know, right? That's what I'm always fascinated. I'm like, how is this happening?
It's crazy. So let's talk about lead generation. Like if you were, I'm going to ask this question differently than I normally ask it. If you were to give advice to Dustin from 4 years ago, what would you tell Dustin to do for lead generation? And then what would you tell him not to do? And maybe you can think of one thing you tell him to do and one thing that maybe you did that you wish you wouldn't have, if there is answers to both those questions. If not, you don't have to, we can just say there was, it's up to you.
No, absolutely. Open houses, open houses, open houses. I would do more open houses. And with borrowed listings, right? I mean, you don't have to have listings to do this or to advertise those listings. As you know, in our state, I have to, do listings with eXp Realty with my brokerage, but it's the best. It's the best. And I love them. So if you don't like them, learn how to like them. Contact my sphere of influence more often and be more, I don't want to use the word aggressive, but be more pointed at my asks with my sphere of influence.
So talk to us about talk to us about
in that.
Sorry.
Talk to us about. Go ahead, say it again. I know.
We'll work it out. Talk to us about frequency. So you said open houses, and you said centers of influence and past client. Drill down on that. Open houses, how frequently? Center of influence, past client. How would you communicate with them? How frequently?
Absolutely. So open houses, my ideal, because I get so many clients from them, is 4 open houses a month. I want to be doing an open house every single weekend, because that ramps up my pipeline like insane, right? And those are people who are either currently looking or are going to be looking real soon, right? I've gotten some incredible double-ended deals on open houses. As far as follow-up for those, I do immediate follow-up. If I can do it, from my notes, I'm a big video, text a video. I text a video and say, hey, Joyce, it was so wonderful meeting to you today. I hope your back feels better. Let me know if you want to continue our conversation a little bit. I'd be happy to chat with you more and stop over to the house and have a look or whatever, right? I mean, it's something personable. I had one woman call me and she said, I just got this video. And I said, who is this crazy man sending this video? And then I watched it and I was like, I knew I had to call you back. I mean, it's authenticity, I think, was the word of the year last year, for real estate. And it works. It just works. And then there's soft touches past that. I'll do a text. I use Popple, so I have this really fancy, cool contact card, with the link, so I'll send that text. Hey, just wanted to make sure you had my, those kinds of things work, right? They immediately go into the CRM. My team immediately starts follow-up as well if I haven't been able to reach them. As far as sphere of influence, one of the big things with that is I make sure that I have tasks set for myself for all of those people at different times throughout the year. I always try to get birthdays. I always try to get anniversaries. And the more notes I have and tasks I have for myself, and then for my behind the scenes team who are following up sometimes for me as well, the better. Personal touches. With for my sphere of influence, it's personal and past clients. It's an ask once a year, every 6 months about.
So I want
Otherwise, it's personal touches
No, I get
throughout the
it.
year.
It's personal touches like calling. You're not reliant on something digital to stay in front of your centers of influence. You're doing it exactly
Mhm.
correct. You're doing
Right.
proactive lead generation and you're reinforcing it with passive lead generation. He's calling and then he's doing other things, digital or whatever, to reinforce it. What most agents do, and it's an enormous mistake, is they will just do the passive and not do the proactive. Do the proactive lead generation. The passive is there to support it. If you have to choose between one or the other, do the proactive lead generation, the calls, because nobody else does them. You listen to what he said when he talks to people, they're really surprised. And honestly, it's the younger generation who essentially are assuming, like, if you're new in real estate and you're in your 20s and you're communicating with prospects that are older than you, homeowners, generally speaking, are going to be what, in their 40s, and you're doing everything digitally, you're out of sync with them. Those folks want calls. And it's going to be that way for your entire career. Now, if you're working with other buyers that are in, then fine. You can be more, digital that way. But I'll suggest to everyone that no matter where you are in your age, no matter where you are in your experience level, the greatest differentiator that's in the marketplace right now is the ability to pick up the phone, have a conversation with folks. A somewhat scripted approach works best because then you can stay on target. It's not just talking about the weather and whatever else. And yeah, that's going to make the difference. While everyone else is basically dripping on people, everyone else is doing all the digital stuff. You making the call is going to make the difference. Any
It's
thoughts on
got to be
that?
a combination. Yeah, it's got to be a combination. I mean, listen, the real estate industry is a tech industry now. That's why, I love with our broker GXP Realty. I mean, we're so forward in tech and innovation. That's a must now. People are looking online for homes. People are looking online for us. And one of the best things when I shifted this just a little bit the way I talked about it in my listing presentations, sometimes I make it a joke, but I was like, here's the thing. Here's the thing about me and my age, right? I'm going to be 50 this year. I've been in the area where we had to pick up the phone and call people. We couldn't do email, we couldn't do all this. So there's a personal touch, but we also have to be tech savvy. So I have a great mix and I'm not afraid to pick up and call somebody, but I also really innovated in what I use in my tech stack as well. So I'm reaching the maximum people that can be contacted to sell your home. We have 90,000 agents that I can now send out coming soon marketing to before we go live on the MLS. Somebody might have a client that's relocating. There you go. We sold your house before we had to go live.
He means EXP agents. There's 90,000 EXP agents. EXP, I don't know if you knew this, Dustin. This is kind of amazing. You probably did. You're a smart guy. EXP is now the largest independent brokerage by transaction count, I believe, in the world, but maybe by, in the United States. But that's extraordinary. So when why would he want to tell people in Omaha about new listings in Atlanta? Because Atlanta is a massive relocation hub for basically the entire world. I mean, it just is. You heard him talking about the entertainment industry, but when Julie and I sold real estate in the 90s, there almost was like Atlanta was almost like the sister city to Columbus. People constantly are going back and forth. It was extraordinary. But most of the country's like that anymore, where corporate hubs are. So it's one of the many, many advantages of EXP. But since you brought EXP up, why did you choose? Obviously, somebody, you're productive. You and your husband are selling a lot of houses. You guys are very successful. All the things. Why did you choose EXP Realty?
Absolutely. So I interviewed a lot. EXP has been our first, and I always say only brokerage. And it was me first, right? But I did bring Matt in when we met with Colette. A friend had introduced us, and we stopped over and talked to her about the model. Specifically, what stood out to me after meeting everyone else was the opportunity for passive income. I mean, like with rev share, which, to be quite honest with you, we haven't even led into rev share as much as we should right now, revenue share, and I'm very heart-centered when it comes to that, and very much a teacher. And so building that out more and being a mentor as well as something big. But also the stock, and also, I mean, you can go on and on. Stock is huge. Being a publicly traded company and an owner of this company, along with you and a lot of other people, you know, is an incredible thing. And then honestly, everybody was talking about virtual, and you know, when I went into another office and sat down, the team lead had just left EXP, interestingly enough. And I said, "Why did you leave EXP, sir?" And he said, "'Cause I wanted an office."
Yeah, that's funny. And then that was obviously pre-COVID. So now post-COVID.
And that's all he said.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, right, exactly. You know, so I really took stock in took stock. I really let the things settle in where I thought that I could thrive, and that then I could have my own company name too, right? So Create Realty Partners, we developed that name. I can be my own brand and then be supported by this tech and this community. I mean, it's like, you know, being able to sit down and talk with you and Elizabeth Riley and Gene Frederick, and you know, all these amazing leaders in the real estate industry are so accessible, and I've learned so much from them going to events and everything. So it's that whole ball of financial with education and then accessibility and coaching, and it's honestly unmatched, and that's why. And we saw that right away.
That's pretty much summarizing why Julie and I joined eXp Realty in 2019. I mean, you just hit the nail on the head, honestly, all those things. There's a sense of community. People might be drawn to eXp because the commission splits or the stock or the revenue share or the tech stack or the this, that, the other. But the real reason that they join, the real reason that they stay is because of the sense of community. The community experience that you have at eXp is like nothing outside of Julie and I's own coaching business that we've ever experienced before professionally. And Julie and I have been, you know, coaching and consulting agents and brokerages for 2 decades, a little, you know, more than that really. And I've never seen a brokerage from the inside that operates like eXp. I mean, I could talk forever about it, but you know, the very fact that Glenn designed eXp and made revenue share such a thing, a lot of people don't conceptually understand what that means. So you can make money. Dustin makes money from real estate, stock. Maybe he's got some things going on with mortgage and title. Who knows? A lot of people do. He also makes money when he sponsors somebody from revenue share. And so one of the questions, and this is, I would say, one of the top 3 reasons Julie and I joined with eXp, is because we could make agents be really productive. We could help them to sell a lot of houses and become kick-ass listing agents and the whole thing. The one thing that was out of our purview, it was our ability or our you know, we had no way of really controlling what the hell they're going to do with the money that they earned, really. And we could coach them and training them and, you know, do all the things to try to get them to set aside money, be responsible, to create passive income, all this. But most of them didn't. They would spend it on lifestyle. And what eXp with revenue share, what it's done is it's made it so that a normal agent, and if you look at the list of the top earners of revenue share at eXp, even the top 100, they're just normal people. You don't know, they're not celebrities. You don't know them from TV or from podcasting or from having written books. You don't know who they are. Yeah, again, you look at the top names, they're just normal people. But those normal people, in some cases, are earning tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars per month in revenue share. Now, what's your goal? I mean, maybe your goal is to earn $3,000 a month or $5,000 a month. What I always suggest to folks when they join eXp Realty is take the revenue share thing seriously. And then what you do is you write down you create like a ladder, right? You literally physically create a ladder, and each of the rungs in the ladder represents a monthly expense that you have. And start with the smallest expenses first. Might be your cell phone bill, might be your gas bill, whatever it is, and work your way up. And then each of those rungs, gas bill, write down what the dollar amount is. Next one, next one, next one. And so the mission with revenue share, again, it makes it so it's very personal, is you're going to start earning revenue share and see that that particular bill is now being paid by revenue share. Those, you know, now your house payment's being paid by revenue share. Now everything is being paid by revenue share. So all your personal expenses for your household are paid by revenue share. Then you could start investing the money that you're making from selling real estate. Don't stop selling real estate. Selling real estate is the #1 focus of eXp for sure. It's the reason we're attracting so many huge producers and teams and brokerages for that matter. But yes, don't let the revenue share opportunity get by you, because it really does change the time-space continuum for real estate agents. It makes it so that you can actually be what Julie and I's definition of rich is, where your money works for you and you no longer work for your money. So yes, sell the heck out of real estate, become the best version of yourself as a real estate agent, but absolutely positively embrace revenue share, because it is truly the eighth wonder of the world. It's only available to real estate agents. So take that seriously. So I appreciate that. So if you are looking forward to just let's talk about we could talk about the challenge. What are the challenges, the greatest challenges you're having in your market right now in the greater Atlanta area?
Definitely inventory. And we work at all price points, and I work with a lot of actors, of course, so price point can be a little bit difficult. And it's inventory, just like everybody else, I think, inventory. So at that 350 to 400 price point that I work with, a lot of them, or under sometimes, it's really tough to find a product that they're going to feel safe and secure in, as far as making that investment. Inventory is ticking up here, which is great. A little bit at a time. We're still seeing the higher priced homes actually sitting a little bit, which has been interesting on that side of things. So we're seeing anything 800 and above sitting. But I honestly think right now it's the biggest thing I would say is probably, I mean, I go back to inventory for us. It's like we've been having a hard time in
Yeah,
that. Just circle it back.
you have to create your own inventory in a market like this. We've done a lot of podcasts on that, and I know you listen, but that's the main thing. You have to go out and create it. You're gonna have to find it. New construction in Atlanta, that's going to be a gold mine, especially in that. Actually, and I'm thinking that price point, it's going to be a lot of condos and things like that. That's definitely the way to go. Yeah, that's exciting. So if someone was interested in, well, first of all, you're interested in obviously sponsoring agents to EXP. And if someone wanted to discuss with you about your journey to become an EXP agent and your journey to move from one industry, which you had a lot of passion for, and to another industry, and you've done it so successfully. If they wanted to have somebody who's going to mentor them, who is going to coach them, who is going to love on them, who is going to make sure that they were successful, you would be a perfect sponsor for them at EXP. And it's important that everyone understands this. When you're sponsored by somebody who's in our group, you get all the benefits of being in our group. And if you want to know the benefits, just go to whylibertas.com. Whylibertas.com. We'll put up the name here on the slide, but it's very simple. WHY Libertas, LIBERTAS.com. And, one of the great benefits of joining with our group at EXP is you get our coaching program for free. Why are we giving our coaching away program for free? Well, here's why. Because we want you to be successful selling real estate. When you become a partner with Dustin at EXP, you're a partner with Julie and I, you're a partner with Colette, you're a partner with, the other people that he spoke of. All those folks want to see you succeed. Not just see you succeed. We're actually going to do everything it takes to help you succeed. We're going to help you be transactional. If you have somebody that you stumble across that wants to join EXP, or maybe you're going to be more direct about it and you want to actually start proactively recruiting, we're going to be your partners to do that. There's a Charlie Munger saying, which I adore, show me the incentive and I'll show you the result. Dustin is the result of a superior business model in one of the most challenging markets in the history of real estate. I'll say probably collectively in the last 3 years, this has been the most challenging market. I would rather, it sounds wrong, but as far as from a real estate coach's perspective, there is more, this is harder than even 07, 08, and 09. There's no doubt. I mean, it just is. The lack of inventory, the rising rates, the incredibly rapid home inflation is really truly what it is. It's not ending. All of it. It's been more challenging than anything that Julie and I have ever coached agents through. And yet, guess what? Coaching and training and EXP Realty has made Dustin and Matt, his husband, very, very successful because of this market. So as we round the bend on today's interview, is there anything else you'd like to say to these guys?
Absolutely. I mean, it's just leaning into that. I would use the word championing us. You, Julie, everybody in EXP, and just really celebrating, right? Everybody celebrates their success, and that's super important to me. And on the other side of that, Matt now is in the compliance department, and EXP in the corporate side of things, they're just so supportive and wonderful. And I do have a Calendly link as well. If y'all want to talk to me, super accessible. Can you just add that in there into the, or Calendly,
Yeah, sure.
CRP Dustin Lewis. So calendly.com/CRP Dustin Lewis. It's Create Realty Partners. And it was so fun talking to you. We haven't been able to spend this much time before.
And also, guys, his phone number, actually, he was smart and put it underneath the Zoom screen. I
it's
just
right
realized.
there. Yeah.
678-438-4368. So text him. Again, it's 678-438-4368. Text him with any questions. Text him thanking for his time today. Share with him what you learned from today's interview. I tried to dive deep on some of the soft targets, soft points that would be most beneficial to the most listeners. But if there's anything I didn't touch on and you want to talk with Dustin more, text him and then he'll call you back, I'm sure. 678-438-4368. So Dustin Lewis, thank you very much. Thanks, first of all, for being part of our interview series. Thanks, number 2, for being so successful and so inspiring. Thanks, number 3, for doing this interview. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
Have a fantastic day.
Thanks.
Thanks, listeners.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.